experts. For the newcomers, we've been holding this Postgres user group since 2012 in that school. This is way back when nobody even knew what Postgres is. So we started this to be able to spread the knowledge. And not only that, back then we were needing some help and we couldn't find any people. So we said, let's start a user group and see if we can get some people transitioning from Oracle or SQL Server to help us out. We do this meeting every second week, the second Tuesday of every month, and we've been doing this for quite a while. Improving has been hosting us since maybe 2014. So we thank them for providing the space and the drink and the food and the friendly environment. Improving, as you know, they actually do consulting, and they're always engaged. Like if you're looking for a project to be done, or if you are looking for jobs, check with them because they are software consulting company, and they exist in North America, South America, and I think in Canada. So they are in Canada, US, Mexico, South America, and Australia. So again, thank them for doing that. So again, what our objective here is to talk about Postgres, get people to know what we do, reach out, and solicit some even speakers. We don't want to always talk me and Vivek, and by the way, Chris Bentley, he is also a co-organizer with us, and we've been in Postgres for a long time. So Vivek is with AWS, I will let him talk about himself, and Chris, you go ahead and tell him. Let's go. Come on, talk back. So me personally, I'm a data engineer, and I currently work at State Farm Insurance. And we do Postgres and all that good stuff. So, Vivek?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Vivek Singh. I'm with AWS for the last 10 years, working as Principal Database Specialist for PostgreSQL. With Postgres, I am since 2006, starting from version 8.3. Before AWS, I worked with a variety of the companies, including NSS, Azure, and Gateway as PostgreDB and Architect. So in the AWS, I help enterprise support customers for their Aurora and RDS, PostgreSQL architecture review, operational review. Time to time, because PostgreSQL is newer technology compared to other Redux engines. Time to time, I host one-to-many customers events where we discuss about operational excellence, best practices. So yeah, so reach me out anytime on LinkedIn if you use RDS Aurora or anything else Postgres in general. Feel free to reach me out on LinkedIn. I would be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, we want to thank Vivek. He's a co-organizer, and he is very active. And we thank Amazon because they actually been very nice to us. They occasionally host us for free in the Dallas office, where they provide the whole day of knowledge sharing and all that good stuff. And do it again, Vivek.
Sure.
Chris?
I'm Chris Bandy. I help organize this. I've been out for quite a while now. Like I haven't seen many of y'all because I've been out of these meetups. But I've been using Postgres for 20 years. The last 5 years have been Crunchy Data, which was a Postgres consulting firm, professional services, all that. They were bought up by Snowflake this summer. So now I'm at Snowflake doing Postgres. They're doing a big push for Postgres. And I guess my secondary expertise is Kubernetes and containers and all that for many years now. Postgres.
Just to also comment on what Chris said is, Crunchy Data was known for packaging Postgres and different tools, and they have if you want a secure package, download. They have the most secure configuration that they used to cite it for the government.
Yeah, that was all acronym certified.
So it's very nicely secure, lockdown version, right? And they are the leaders in that space. As you know, Postgres, any of you can go in and spin up a company based on Postgres because it's an open source. And there's no licensing, there's no nothing. You can build the product, you can start. There are so many consulting groups that does Postgres, like Enterprise TV, Crunchy Data, DJ Experts, and, our friend JB, was his name? Background. And we can then, yeah.
OpenSSD also have their own,
Which was what we
do.
So, and one interesting fact is Snowflake is one of the leaders in the platforms for analytics, and they realized they need a transaction engine, and they bought Crunchy Data because they have Postgres expertise, and now they are going to be rolling out hopefully the transaction engine.
Snowflake Postgres, yeah, at least that's what they announced in the summer, and that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Snowflake managed PostgreSQL database.
Yeah,
Right.
and then like inside, the Snowflake stuff is all managed and paid with credits or something. So, yeah, it's all managed and it's going to be super close and all that interface.
So last month, what we did is we did a workshop where a lot of you guys came in with your laptops, and we had Macs, we had Windows, we had a couple of Linux people. One was okay. So we helped them install Postgres on your local Mac because a lot of people use Postgres as a service where you can connect to a website where and then you just use it. But getting it to your machine gives you the ability to administer it and do a lot of cool stuff that you can't do on the big servers. So hopefully last month we had a good taste of everybody. And if anybody wants to install Postgres today, we have enough help here to help you get it installed.
I want to get it installed.
You wanted that?
I want to get it installed.
Okay, what do you have, Windows or Mac?
With-
Okay, so we'll get you somehow. So we were asked that we want to continue some type of move up from the beginners into how you can be administering Postgres. And today we said how do you master Postgres skills, and we will show you some stuff. So aside from today's topic, we want to know what you want to talk about next month. Any suggestions? By the way, I spoke to Merlin today. And Merlin is also another co-organizer who had to be relocated to New Mexico. And he is still on his promise to start a Friday course to be recorded, and the course he will teach you new development. And if you know Merlin, he does wonders. He does black magic. He does whole systems, very performant, high, and he does everything, all the orchestration, the ingestion, and the processing, all in Postgres. So what he wants to do is he wants to start this course where you get down with him and you finish, and after you finish, you will be able to be professional in doing serious stuff with Postgres. So hold on, we've been working on this for a while, but we will make it happen soon. And if somebody misses the Friday, it's already recorded. You can listen to it. For next month, we can talk about containers.
Yeah.
We can talk about Aurora, general Postgres. We can bring speakers also from outside. We did not long ago PG Vector for AI stuff. So, again,
PG Vector already prepared, we have recording of that.
so we have that. We also occasionally, just to let you know, we get asked to go over to some companies and give talks. gonna kind of keep doing this. We had about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we had to do a talk.
In May we had Saturday, right?
Yeah, that was a conference that we had, and where we had AWS, Microsoft, and many other companies.
Yeah.
But we went one time, we were invited to CBRE in Richardson. Were you there? So we had to go ahead.
She was there.
I wasn't there.
You were there. Oh, okay.
Oh. Yeah, she was there too, yeah.
Yeah. And around 60 people attended that.
Yes.
Mostly might be from CBRE itself because they are one of the biggest users of PostgreSQL in the US.
And we had 2 months ago, I believe, we were invited to New It Global. New It Global in Irving.
That's a company I come from.
This is okay.
Yeah.
So New It Global, they invited us to give a talk out there, and they actually went and made the main presentation was by them, and they do migrations from Oracle and SQL Server to Postgres. So we had it was raining though, but we went. It was raining like crazy. Yeah. So anyway, so occasionally we don't. This is our home, but we may have to go somewhere else. And for you, the newcomers, we normally do our talk downstairs. But today we had the women event, women leaders event. So that's why we had to be moved out here. Okay. So any thoughts about next month aside from PG Vector for next month? Anybody interested in containers? Anybody interested in
Containers are
I'm interested in dashboards, because I do that a lot of work.
the dashboard is not Postgres, it is
Oh, I'm
it
looking
is
at it right here.
dashboard would have many data sources, including Excel.
Is it different than?
this is for monitoring.
Oh, okay.
But for doing dashboards, you're talking about like Superset or
Okay.
Power BI or something like that.
Okay.
So this would be a different tool. It would be talking to Postgres.
That you could be data source, could be Excel, Postgres, MySQL. What kind of dashboard you're looking at? Data based or monitoring?
Well, really, pretty much a database. It's going to handle a lot of data. So I guess it would be probably helpful to use Postgres as kind of database to do probably some of the programming maybe, and then probably a superset.
Yeah. So some of that is free, it's Apache.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, if you do a talk about Superset, then it's a tool that's not Postgres. Okay, so I guess we have containers, we have something else for PG Vector. What else did we hear about?
Container is my choice too. It is something new.
So that's your space.
Yeah,
Actually, you gave a talk 2 years ago on containers, so
I'm sure it did. Okay.
and that's what he does. He builds containers day in, day out.
And I would suggest to make it hands-on and ask people the prerequisites for the container platform that they need to install something, install beforehand,
All right.
so that people can feel.
Yeah. Just be doctoring, so.
Okay. So today we're going to go over some Postgres introductions, and we are going to be talking about some tools and how do you get rid of Postgres. You know that Postgres is a relational database. It's object-based. What does that mean? That means all the tables, all the procedures, all this, everything is object-based. We call it Postgres. It is PostgreSQL. It used to be in the past. It used to be called Ingress, and then Post-Ingress is what they call it Postgres. It's totally free, open source, available for anybody. And you'll never see a license as generous as Postgres, meaning you can take it and you can make a product on it. The teaser is based on Postgres, Asterix, Greenplum, and you name it, so many. Aurora,
Redshift.
Redshift, all those guys are based on Postgres engine. The community develops and puts commits to the source code. There are the community that manages the source code, and it accepts what goes in and what goes out, and then they do a release, major release once a year. So we are due for a release in next month.
And November this year, PostgreSQL 13 will go away. It will have its end of life. So after November 23rd this year, they will not put any patches for security or feature fix or anything. If you have on 13, better to update it.
So they support usually 5 years, right?
It's 5 years for major versions. Yes, that is the their routine.
So keep that in mind. If you are using Postgres in production in a sensitive, say, project, make sure you keep up, stay within 5 years of your version. Otherwise, you will not have security patches. Somebody can hack you and all that.
Less likely, but still, one of the reasons to upgrade.
Okay, so we mentioned that this is some history that it started at Berkeley. Dr. Michael Stonebreaker, he kind of started the initiative in '86, and that's again, it was the BSD project, Berkeley, and it started growing and growing and growing, and now this is what we have right now. It is, if you know databases, you know what ACID means: autonomous, consistent, isolated, durable, and all that stuff. So it's fully compatible. Postgres supports, it pretty much does anything you want to do in major databases, like Oracle, SQL Server, and more. By default, the language that is used, the stored procedure that you use inside Postgres, it is PLPG SQL. Those who come in from Oracle, it's equivalent to PL/SQL. Those who come in from SQL Server, it is like Transact SQL.
So PostgreSQL, while it is known for OLTP workloads, it's equally being used for OLAP environment as well as document database. It has good key value store methodology, as well as you can choose from the parameters and it will become your warehouse for data right now.
Yes.
So that's the one good use case of Postgres. You can use for variety of options.
Yes. And if you notice, where is it used? You can use it on a small device like Raspberry Pi or small computer, small devices. And you can, I have it running on Raspberry Pi. Actually, there is the Raspberry Pi Zero, which is yay big. I should have brought one. You can run Postgres and enable Wi-Fi and you have it. And you can run it on a huge machine with replication and redundancies and all that stuff. There is a lot of ways you can tune Postgres. We don't have it this. We gave a talk, what was that, 2 sessions ago, where we showed you how, when you install Postgres like you guys did, you open a file called Postgres count file, and there's a lot of parameters in there. And you can tune those parameters according to your use case. Meaning, if your system is supposed to be for analytical, then you tune it as such. And you tune it in accordance to the hardware you're sitting on. And if you are installing it for transactional, you tune it as such. Control number of connections, to how much memory you're using, and all that stuff. By default, you install it, and like every one of you guys, when you installed it, you didn't have to worry about it, just install it and run with it. But when you start working it out, you got to tune it.
Some people are using your PostgreSQL already. May I ask you one question? What parameter would you like to change while using PostgreSQL as OLAP environment? What parameter comes in top of your mind to update it if you are using Postgres for warehouse purposes. There could be many. The one parameter is work memory. Work memory is for sorting and hashing operation. As you can assume that for the OLAP environment, generally queries are long and they take a lot of data. You can increase to work memory from 4 MB default to maybe 1 GB or 2 GB, as long as you are sure that the number of the connections will not go much high. Because that much memory would be allocated per node per query in your database. That is the one thing. If you have a heavy duty OLAP connection, if you want to have high work memory, I have seen people increasing up to 1 gig to 2 gig because they are sure that the connections will not go more than 20 or 30 compared to OLTP where 4 MB is good enough.
Yeah, so what he's saying, like, for like analytical systems, you don't have a lot of connections. Not everybody is going to go there on huge queries.
Right.
So you reduce the number of connections and you increase the memory. That's the opposite for transaction. Transaction has you have a lot of systems, APIs, calling it, but then every connection is a little work. Inserting, updating, deleting.
If you increase workload there, it can cause out of memory issues.
Yeah. So you can use it for small, medium, and large companies. We mentioned that many warehouse appliances is based on Postgres. Netezza, Redshift, Greenplum, and Aster Data. Yeah. And right now you notice that almost in the cloud, you see mostly everybody uses Postgres. When you go on the cloud, like if you go on Amazon RDS, when you spin up a database, it is a no-brainer. If you want to go in and spin up Oracle and pay the licenses for Oracle or SQL Server, or just spin up Postgres and have no licenses. You pay licenses for your own. No licenses.
That's the reason many people are here from Oracle.
So you spin off Postgres or and then you don't have to pay licenses to it. You do pay the services for AWS because you're using their compute, but you're not paying licenses, the separate licenses for Oracle.
And recently, Amazon.com completely they moved their retail company from Oracle to Oracle. They have hundreds of the databases on Oracle, and they moved everything from Oracle to Oracle. There was a reinvent of also last year on this. How did they move everything from Oracle to Oracle?
And one thing I want to point out to is that in Postgres, you've got the ability to program. You know, guys know what the store procedure is. You're putting code inside the database. By default, Postgres has PLPGC, but you can put in Perl, Python, Java, and so on and so forth. I just mentioned what they support. They support all of the languages. Yeah. So imagine you can program in Python inside Postgres. Keep in mind, some of those languages are called trusted languages and some are called non-trusted languages. Meaning, if you are using PLPG-SQL, it's a trusted language. Why? Because you cannot go from PLPG-SQL to the operating system and do something bad. But if you do PL Python, you can from PL Python go to the operating system and wipe out the hard disk. So they call it. This is why when we install other companies, we disable the untrusted languages.
And what is the good point of having PL Python? Maybe interacting with OS?
Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with Python, you would want to code in Python. And you do it. And you do
you can
all
easily interact with the files on your OS
Yeah.
with the database.
But you can exactly get shut out. So you have to, yeah.
So that is the use case, right? I mean, why people will use
Use case, I mean, this is why they tell you this is trusted and this is not trusted. And, I mean, you see where I mean, like a lot of companies, most what we do is we don't allow.
Right, but I'm trying to understand in what case people will use PL Python. Maybe if they want to interact OS-based files and
Or I'm familiar with Python. right? I mean, Python is a good language,
Okay.
everybody knows it, right?
Compared to PG-Learn or.
PLSQL, not everybody, you know, you program PLSQL.
Yeah.
It's similar to PLSQL, and it is, you know, you still come from,
That's why they named it PG-PL SQL, because Oracle has its PL SQL,
Right.
and added PG to make it PG-PL.
okay. So right now, those are some of the slides that I tested from you, so you want to walk through?
So, in-depth knowledge, architecture, and features, I would definitely recommend to go to the PostgreSQL documentation we have on the open source website, postgresql.org. And there is one more website I would say, interdb.com. It has very well documented internal diagrams and all about the PostgreSQL architecture, like the database page, how does it look like? Or if you say that vacuuming and all what are the internal process, I would definitely recommend search for interdb space Postgres.
Shall we go to the video to show some commands?
Maybe after this one. Let me just quickly walk through some. Okay, so normalization, as of now, maybe everybody might be knowing what is the first degree automation, second degree, third degree. Those are the principles for creating schemas and all. In PostgreSQL, you can host multiple databases. Each databases can have multiple schemas, and each schema can have multiple tables.
Right. And we will elaborate in a minute.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind, you install the server, Postgres. The hierarchy on that server is you can have multiple databases. Every database can have, of course, have within it its own multiple schemas. You know the difference between a database and a schema, guys? It's almost like having four.
It is similar to how we can Oracle, like,
No.
or the sequentially database ID.
No, it's
And
different.
putting more data the same. Look like that.
It's multiple databases on the same host, okay, and then schema is a schema, same as a schema. It's like really, I mean, if I explain it to my kids in high school, I tell them it's like having a closet, that's your database, and your drawers is your schemas.
Yeah.
You want to separate the spoons in here, you want to separate that in here, so it's just the way to store things.
I want to provide some predictions.
I just want to ask something in terms of optimization. I come from site-based database background. So I have optimizer altogether doing the tasks for each and every query execution. But what I understood in Postgres is it has two different things. Query planner and query optimizer. What exactly the query planner is doing, I just want to understand what exactly the difference is between query planner and query optimizer for Postgres in terms of optimization.
I don't know what is.
I don't know that there is.
Very planner, I know. So under the hood, Postgres will create multiple plans, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will look at the expense basis. Whatever the least expense, it will pick that plan to run the workload.
It's a cost-based optimizer based on the statistics.
So there is no component for optimizer in particular?
No, Postgres planner will create some plan and pick the least expensive plan. That's it. Optimizer, we have a DBAs. So pay them the DBA to optimize it.
Because I just got this question.
You're all that?
No, I mean,
Oh,
I-
side. So all databases have the explain plan. And the explain plan basically tells you this query is going to do an end scan or table scan and how does it know from the statistics. So one thing you always have to do in the database is you have to keep your statistics updated. Your databases grow. If your databases grow maybe a few records a week, you can update the statistic once a week. But if your database is very active, you may have to run the statistics every hour.
Yes.
To make sure that the optimizer, because the optimizer says, I want to go against a table that has 5 records. Why mess with it? But if you have a table that the statistics show it is only 5 records, but in reality, it's got 5 million records. The statistic is not accurate. Statistics is your map.
At some point, I would like to discuss about the escape plan, not now, maybe upcoming session. I would like to discuss how to read the escape plan, the expected rows versus real rows. Your escape plan might have shown you expected rows 10,000, but real rows after filter 40 or 50. That is the one indication showing that your status are not set. Talking about planner, I mentioned one key parameter is called default static target. Anybody knows what is mean and what is the default value and how does it work? So the default value is 100, and what it mentions that 100 into some factor, may assume that 300 rows it will pick in order to create the plan. For smaller data set or tables, it's okay. 10 gig of a table, 300 tables it will pick and it will create a plan for you. But for the bigger database and but for bigger tables and highly distributed tables specifically, this value could be low because Postgres planner would pick the lower amount of the sample, and the chances of bad planning is high. So one of the good ways that look at your PG stat, look at the histogram line, and find the highly distributed tables and increase this value, say that from 100 to 500 or 600. And most likely you will see that once you run the explain analyze, you will see 2 values down there. One is planner time and one is distribution time. Planner time would be high, little bit high, because now you are dealing with the high number of the sample data. But distribution time should be low because it has got a better plan after dealing with high. This helps many PostgreSQL users. If you deal with the large table as well as highly distributed, recommendation is to increase this parameter called default state. I want to quickly touch base these two. In the DBA life, always the database fails, or always you will feel that you will find that your storage has full enough. But as a good DBA, you should have recovery strategies. Accident cannot be avoided. It would happen no matter you are on the cloud or you are on your on-premises PostgreSQL. In on-premises PostgreSQL, I feel better because I have access to OS also. I can do whatever I want with OS. So one issue what I was used to have during my DBA time, that my storage was used to get through very frequently. And there is no way you can connect to the database and then you can drop some table, because storage full, you cannot even connect to the database. One way is only that increase the size and let the data move in there. After half an hour, 1 hour, you will get access. Half an hour off, 1 hour off outage. So one thing what I did that I created a big file, say that 50 MB, and put it on my PG data. So if the storage full issue happens, I will just drop that file, and then
gives you enough time to connect.
Yes, so it will let me connect to the database, and then I will drop the table, I will do something. So these kind of strategies you need to make it as a good DBA, because keep in mind accidents will happen, but how to avoid it, what is your runbook, it's totally on you. That is the one learning I wanted to. For security, PG-HPA-conf, that is the file where you modify most of the IP rules, what kind of password authentication you want to have. So download open source PostgreSQL and look at the PG_HPA.conf file. That has the most of the rules.
Yeah, backup and recovery is extremely important. What you mentioned about running out of space, this is a good trick that you should always know. Keep just the fake file in there.
Yep.
That is
Drop it.
Yes, yes. And when you get started, drop it and connect.
Yes. Vivek, you mentioned about IP rules, right? Is it about policy-based routing or how that works?
See the
Let's say you have 2, 3 ports. Like how do you make sure that your data flows to particular port?
So, like you mentioned, IP NS/32 or whatever range you want to come from this IP, it will connect to user-based or database-based. You can put it there, that line.
Okay.
So, yeah, so go to PostgreSQL.org, there are some samples how to do it because every year they're adding few more functionalities.
Okay.
Like recently they added the password authentication, what kind of MD5 or what kind of we want to have for this user for this database. And there are in the PostgreSQL 17 they added a P3 catalog table where you can query that what's there in PGHP config. Because earlier, and this is how in the cloud people can query PGHP config file because they don't have access to the OS files. So yeah,
We go back.
that's it for this slide.
In terms of recovery strategy, do we have anything called up-to-minute recovery in Postgres?
What is it? What is it?
Up-to-minute recovery, not point in time.
Yeah.
It's called PID. Yeah, so one thing is point in time. That means in the back you can go till you have the full database backup, and then you will have the wall files backup. So you can go back to anywhere, so that from here to here full database until this point all the wall files will be replayed.
Point in time recovery.
Yeah.
I have trying to understand it up-to-minute recovery where we don't have
Up to what?
up-to-minute recovery. Like Postgres, you have this at scratch now, and I want to recover it to the same point.
It's a lot, yeah.
So what?
With wall.
We press on shares.
Well, we can ask.
You have a plug that,
That is closed.
huh?
That is closed.
Downstairs closed. Yeah.
Okay,
So you got your answer? No, you not yet. What is that? Didn't tell me. Okay. Stores. Okay. Full backup. Okay.
And the applications are accessing the table. And let's say like around 8:13 or 8:14, the instance was crashed because of exploitation. Okay? And I have the one file archive till 8:10. So I want to recover this 3 minute data.
If you don't have all file, you cannot recover.
That one file.
So yeah. So if you learn the PostgreSQL from very basic, the concept of wall file is that first the record would be written in the wall and then it will get committed. That's how it's less likely that you will not have the wall files. Now this 3 minutes missing wall file, it could be in the transaction or it was on the instance itself, it was not pushed to the archive place. Maybe these are the reasons or what?
No, I don't have any clarity on this particular topic. So when I was trying to look for this particular concept, I did not get any sort of document.
Well, one thing, if you're saying 10, 30 database crash, and you have only wall files till 10, 10, right? So the basic is fundamental is that if you don't have the wall file, you cannot recover. You can only recover till 10, 10. So it's very important to keep backing up your wall files, and when you want to create a new instance from wall files, what people do, they will push that 3 minutes of the wall file from the instance to the archive location. From there, all of the wall files will be taken. If you have missed somewhere, crashed, or they got corrupted, then there is no way.
No, control file is different. What he says is like archive log file. If you don't have archive log file, you cannot recover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what is next.
Query planner, we already understood what does it do. Query planner under the hood, whenever you write the SQL query, PostgreSQL will rewrite to its own language, and then it will apply all of the rules, all of the resources what we have, and then it will create multiple plans, and then it will pick the least expensive plan in order to execute that SQL query. Explain and analyze. Does anybody know what is the difference between explain and analyze in PostgreSQL? So explain will tell you that how does the PostgreSQL plans to run the query. You can read from bottom to top. And there are some visual way also to look at in a better format. That is this page.com. There are some more. You just copy paste the explain plan, and it will show you in the tutorial form that how does the PostgreSQL plan is. Analyze, what it does that analyze will execute the PostgreSQL query, what you have mentioned there, like explain, analyze, select all from table 1. Then it will explain also, and it will run it, and it will give you the exact runtime, like execution time and running time. Don't run the analyze if you are dropping the table or deleting the data, because it will actually delete the data. So one way is that begin, explain, analyze, delete table from this, and roll back. That's how you can feel it, how much time it will take, what kind of explain plan would look like, and then you can always roll back to the original state of data. Indexing and caching strategies. Indexing, while it's useful for PostgreSQL databases and workloads, need to make sure that it's expensive in the terms of resources. PostgreSQL does allow duplicate indexes, so keep looking at the duplicate indexes. People moving from Oracle to PostgreSQL, they do create indexes on the primary key, which is not required, because PostgreSQL itself creates the primary key indexes. Whenever you define the primary key, there would, under the hood there would be an index for that. Whenever I met with the customer, that is the one top reason why they have the duplicate indexes, because they created the. And also in the organizations, if the two organizations are not talking to each other, two teams like development team or the AI team, both teams will keep creating their own indexes. And finally, you will have multiple indexes. That means not only it is consuming your storage, but it's also consuming IOs. For any data record update, it also needs to update the indexes. So very important, keep your eyes on the indexes. And there is one more, I don't remember the actual technical term, but the meaning is that uniqueness. Make sure that your column is unique. If you have a column with only two values, say that male or female, or country values, US, Mexico, Canada, and 1 million record. Because uniqueness is so low, you don't need to create indexes. Even if you create index, planner may not, most likely will not take that index to run the workload.
So you are talking about cardinality.
Cardinality. Right. Low cardinality means less uniqueness. Right. Or it's reverse.
When you have low cardinality, it means that it's a better performance, because you only have two different values in the column. But when you have number of distinct values are more higher in the column, the performance decreases.
So it's called high cardinality.
Yeah, high cardinality means high number of distinct values in the column.
So like email addresses or SO numbers. Caching strategies, there is an expression in PostgreSQL called PG pre-warn. For example, you are running a business critical report. In morning, CEO is asking, I need this report. And if you have large database, 50 terabyte, then a particular SQL query can take longer time. It may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So what people do that they run the extension called PG pre-warn, bring the data from storage to the shared buffer, and then run that SQL query. That will make it fast. You can cron it, PG. You can use PG cron in association with the PG pre-warn, and every day it will bring that data for you at the given time in the storage.
Just to add something, we should not have low cardinality or we should not have high cardinality. The cardinality should be medium, so that the performance is maintained. Yeah, because if we have low cardinality, we only have two partitions. So it takes longer time to search in the two partitions. But if you have high cardinality, then also it takes longer time.
Because there are very many partitions.
There are many partitions. But if we maintain medium cardinality, then it will be a better condition for searching.
Sometimes you might not have the freedom, because if it's email address, which has to be unique, or SSO number, which has to be unique, would be. Okay, so configuring PostgreSQL for performance, the best way is through tuning the parameters. In the last session, we learn about parameters, shared buffer, maintenance for memory, effective cache size, max connections, wall key segments. These are the max wall size, checkpoint, timeout. These are the top 5-6 parameters using which you can tune the PostgreSQL parameters. Anybody knows what is checkpoint timeout and why it's important? Anybody has heard about checkpoint? Maybe in Sybase the similar concept.
Yeah.
So what does it do?
It just writes the basic pages from cache.
Right.
Cache to the disk.
Correct. So in PostgreSQL, it's called BG writer, background writer. Background writer is the always running job. For example, feel like you are having a party. Many guests, they came in, they ate food, and there are some helps in my room. 2 people are keep taking the plates out in the sink. Now, once the party is done, somebody will make sure that all the plates are gone in the sink. That is checkpoint, and those helps who are making sure that plates are going on, those called background writer, also called BG writer. So when you do the BG-EF/Postgres, you will always see a BG writer running job on the background. Now, in order to make sure that this final cleanup has done, there is a parameter called checkpoint timeout. That means by default it's 5 minutes. After every 5 minutes, checkpoint will come in and make sure that all the dirty pages are written to the persistent storage. Now, there's a different concept of the fsync and 4 KB, 8 KB pages. You can learn more about it. But there is a better way how PostgreSQL deal with the Linux side fsync of 4 KB compared to 8 KB of PostgreSQL side. So yeah, if you want, you can run that video because it's almost 7:40.
Yeah, let's do that.
We just, a couple of things, that, wanted to say that, take it step at a time. You install Postgres, start working with it. And as far as tuning goes, you do it piecemeal at a time. The most important thing I come back and say is, do analysis, analyze your table. Postgres is, what do you call it? MVCC. What that means, whenever you go into a table, and let's say you look at the table and you see, okay, it only has 5 records. You select count on the table that says it has 5 records. That's not true. Nothing wrong. There are 5 active records. That is true. But if you have gone and updated a record a million times, behind the scenes, on the storage, there is a million record out there, because every time you make an update, or even if you delete the record, that record is still in the file system until you run a vacuum.
Or auto vacuum takes in.
Yes, when the vacuum comes in, it says, okay, now the reason Postgres has this MVCC is by design. For concurrency and efficiency, then people can be slamming, inserting data, somebody updating data, and somebody is deleting data. And then the active sessions is seeing the records for that session until somebody commits, and then you come back and start seeing. So basically, the old records are still there.
Yeah.
So again, you look at the table, it has only 5 records, and you do select against it. It takes a long time. So what the heck is happening? Well, that's because that table is so huge. You do a vacuum, and all those will be purged.
So it's like a hidden version control.
Hidden version control. Hidden version control. And it's called MVCC, multi-version concurrency control.
This is one of the, talking about data, this is one of the common PostgreSQL interview questions. They will only say MVCC, you need to explain the full form and what is used for. And then need to, there's the concept of Xmin and Xmax. If you learn it, it will be easy to explain how MVCC works.
Yep. So those things, you start moving in and in the days when we were working on a project, I was working on a project on version 7, Postgres 7. We are now what?
Still we have
That's back in the days.
Yeah, 7 means 2000 or 1998.
And we were in 90. No, When was that? Was it 2000s?
Yeah, I remember I got in 2006 on 8.3. So, and earlier 8.3 was measured, 8.4 was measured. Yeah, so maybe 4 or 5 years back.
Yeah, so, and then we were at that time, things where Postgres wasn't as advanced as it is right now. And I was processing 2 terabytes a week back then.
And that time there was no auto vacuum also.
No.
It was only manual vacuum whenever you need.
But I was using Hadoop for data warehousing. And now there was a vacuum on version 8 or 9. So I would disable the vacuum. And the reason I disabled it is because I am not doing update and substitute. As soon as I move and crunch my tables and my data, I issue analyze on the database manually. Yeah. So all I'm saying is take it similar time. Whatever we're showing you here is because you've asked for it. But technically, go with confidence, start working with Postgres, and when you get in trouble, there's a Discord channel. Get on the Discord channel, ask, somebody will answer you. Nowadays, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whoever, and give you an answer and help you out. So don't be afraid to dive in there. So start putting data. And did you tell them about the application?
No, we discussed about indexes, cache, PGP1.
Replication meaning you have your primary database, and then you can replicate to multiple other databases and other servers, to where if your primary fails, you flip over to the replica. And Postgres supports streaming physical replication and a logical replication. Physical replication is you're replicating everything. Yeah, the whole cluster. Logical is where you say, I want only to replicate maybe a subset of a table or a subset of, like let's just say that you have a huge database and you want to replicate only the HR data for HR, and you want to replicate sales data for the salesman. So you can have the replica only for HR, replica for, so you can have selective replication.
How many instances can you replicate? If you wanted to have 10 instances for load balancing purposes, you do that?
Not for load, it is single writer.
Single writer?
Single writer.
You can have unlimited.
So they're really just there for backup or failover.
You can read from.
There are multiple
You can
users.
read from.
Yeah, you can read from.
So we do it to where the writes happening in the primary, but then all the reads, let's say you have a system that want to read only, we can send it to them.
And there's, if you give that a little bit more, there's a parameter called hot standby. If you turn it on, that means you can read it. If I'm using that replica or that instance just for recovery purposes, what people do, they turn off hot standby. That means you cannot connect, but it is for your recovery purposes. Anything happens to the primary database, this you can pop up as the new database. Just have a single instance class, and then you can use it. Mostly people use hot standby on because they wanna use the money what they are spending on this thing. People can have multiple replicas. Cloud, they allow limited number because they don't want to allow the unlimited thing. Like RDS, they allow 5 replicas in the same region. And 2 years back, they also allowed the cascaded replication. That means replica can have 5 more replicas, up to 3 tier. Now, the total number of replicas goes up around 1,000 or maybe some few hundreds replicas. I don't know who will use 300, but maybe some customers ask because AWS is built on the feedbacks. So maybe few large companies, they asked it and they built it cascaded. One of the things is that you don't want to create load on one master database. Because it needs to handle few things for the each replicas. So people go with the replica as the source for the application.
I was gonna just go into one database that I have. Okay, when we installed Postgres last time, we had people with Mac, we had people with Linux, and we had people with Windows. Postgres package is PG admin as part of the system that you have. PGAdmin doesn't work well on Mac, doesn't work well on Linux. So we suggested that you install dbeaver. Have anybody heard of dbeaver? Okay, so we had everybody install dbeaver. And the reason I say that is dbeaver can connect to any database that you want. It can connect
MySQL or
Internet.
it can connect to any database of choice, almost any database. It can connect even to Mongo and Lava and all this, Oracle, SQL Server, and all that. So we advised to use dbeaver. Can you see here on the left side? So I open the database, and right here I only have one database. You can have multiple databases. They have a database called Sensor. You drill down, and you see that you have schemas. And now we have 1, 2, 3 schemas. By default, when you install Postgres, you will always have schema called function. But then you can add your own schemas. And you drill down within your schema.
some companies, security-wise, they delete the public schema. But I think public schema comes with some inherent property. Once you delete it, you cannot create one with the inherent default permissions. You need to create a similar database and then it would have public schema. So don't delete it, I would rename it. So that you are still conserving the default properties it came with. But people do it and then later on they create a case that hey, I dropped public schema or created that.
I don't think I have my connection up. You know what? Oh, you know, look what happened here. I tried to connect to my server and drill down. I look at the error I got. Does anybody know why I got this error? It's a security issue.
Does not have anything in
I remember when you mentioned PGHPA-conf, this is the security file in Postgres. So I'm connecting to a server on Akamai on the cloud. My database here is on the cloud. And out there, I only have it open to certain IPs. So here I'm not allowed. So that's why it says.
Maybe this is a different room, it is different thing, different IP or.
No, I only have allow from home.
Well, this is a different Wi-Fi that we had.
So yes, okay.
But even down there, I don't have that. Let me see, do I have local database? I don't know if I have. Yeah, but nonetheless, you get the point of the hierarchy. The other thing that we're going to show you in a minute is PSQL. That is the native interface to connect and talk to Postgres, PSQL. So it's like SQL plus, and SQL Server it's called SQL command or something.
SQL command. If you're going for PostgreSQL DBA, this is the must thing to know. If you say that I manage my all databases with PGAdmin, most likely you will not get the job. Reason behind community, if you reach out to Postgres mail thread and say that, hey, I got this output from PGAdmin, they will not talk about it because PGAdmin is not supported by the community, but PSQL is. So the data, the output, it has to come from PSQL in order to reach out to the community or AWS support. It's always good to have PSQL.
And keep in mind, a lot of times you connect to a server, and there are two things you have to know if you are working with pretty much. One thing is when you connect to a server remote somewhere, you pretty much all you have is VI or what's that?
Nano or aggregator.
So you gotta know a little bit of that because what's it called?
People, I don't know. Nano and when
I'm a VI guy. And then the other thing is you're sitting on a server, which you really don't have except just that socket to connect to. PSQL is always there if you're on the server. So you need to learn PSQL if you want to be in the Postgres space. So here we have.
There are some meta commands. Meta commands are the shortcut command in PSQL which you must be knowing. There are a set of 15 to 20 meta commands. For an example, if you wanna look at all of the databases, you can write a big query like select all from PG all database and find the database name this.
Information schema.
Just right. But if you click this button, I will be keep commenting in parallel.
You want to pick it up?
Yes.
Okay, so this is some recording.
Yeah. So on the right hand side, you can see those commands, and here I'm seeing so select version just to make sure that this is PostgreSQL 15.4 version. And the first command I am going to run that is /l. It will show me all of the databases on my cluster. And if you do /l plus, it will give you some most extended information about each database. For example, you can see the size of the database also. Here sizes MB and okay. Next one is /c. It will play by itself.
Okay, how was that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Give me that.
Oh, it's 10 minutes. Okay. Okay. So next one is /c. If you want to connect to a different database, then you need to do C and then database name, and then you can also put the username if you want to change the username. But in this case, I'm going with the same user. I put my password, and now /dt will list you all of the tables under public schema. And if you have multiple schemas, you can do /m, and then you will see all of the list of the schemas. If you want to see the table under a particular schema, what you need to do, dt schema name ** and then you will see all of the tables listed under schema name. Next one comes the du. It will show you all of the users in your cluster, and if you do du plus, it will show you some extended information about your user, which role they belong to, and some other details. Next one is /x. That means extended display. It will be, it's for easier readability. As you can see that for each record, we have multiple rows. So easily you can read the data with /x. If you do /x again, it will toggle back to the previous one. This is the way to find all the functions in your database /df, and then I will do x to display all. And then it comes, next one comes, let's see, timing. DI will list you all of the indexes in your database. This is how you can see that which indexes and which table we are on. And timing will set the timing. If you want to keep tracking the time for each query, in the bottom it will give you the execution time, that is 1.15 milliseconds for running select now command. Next one comes the /now. There are better ones or deeper one, which is /watch. If you want to run a particular query multiple times, then you need to run the watch command. For example, I am running the select now command, and then I will be running watch 2. That means every 2 seconds it will be keep running the same command. It is good if you wanna insert some random data in a table, or you want to run or you want to checking that how much data has been inserted every second. You can run the watch command. And then it comes copy command. This is one of the popular way to import or export data to or from PostgreSQL. In this example, I am exporting the data from pgtailor to pgtailor1.csv. ProdTailor to ProdTailor CSV file. And in the same way, you can bring the data from OS to your database using
I just was here to say that copy for all users is equivalent to the SQL loader. The SQL loader where it floats. If you have like huge amount of data and flat files, you can load into the SQL loader, and I think in SQL Server, I think there's some SQL copy or something like that.
Yeah.
But this here, the copy is extremely fast. I can go like games and games of data pretty quick here.
Yeah. And next important one comes the pset command. Pset will change the format of the data what you are seeing on your screen. The default one is aligned. You are changing to HTML. So if you run the query, the output will be in the HTML format. For example, now you can see that this is the HTML format. If you are creating the HTML report, just copy paste this data, and then it will create a table for you. And the default one is pset format aligned, and you can toggle between aligned and not aligned by doing /a. People do it if they wanna go with the unaligned or aligned. So in the unaligned, you will see that every data is coming from on your left hand side. Aligned will make it in the middle. In the same way with slash uppercase H, you can toggle between HTML or aligned one. So this is the one way to toggle, and the next one comes productivity tips, that is set. How you can set some of the commits. So in this case, I am setting auto commit and then boolean terms false, and this will set to auto commit to false. Somebody asked that can we change auto commit manually? So this is the way. And then how to echo it? What is
by default, unlike Oracle, it's just like SQL Server. Every command you issue is committed, unless you change this.
So, and if you want to see what is my configuration for auto commit, you can always do echo and auto commit, and this will show you it's false. And then the next one would be con info will tell you that what is the connection information for your current connection. I'm setting that to true, just to make sure that I'm not changing anything in this session actually. So /con info will tell you the connection information. And the next one comes, it will tell you that which port, which user, what is your database name, all these things. And then I'm doing lowercase h, it will give you the help command for any command what you put. I put alter, it is telling me everything about the alter command, how to use alter command in PostgreSQL. And we have /s file, it will save all of the commands in a file. Like in this case, I have written /s commands 0909.csv. So it has wrote all of my commands in this session in this file. If you are done with your day and then you want to save all of the work, you can run this command, and later on you can see that what command did you run on that day. The next one are that how to deal with the SQL files on your OS. That is /e will edit it, and if you save it, it will also run that SQL query. In this case, I am editing the file called SQL.something. There are two queries already. I'm just showing you that how to, if you press O button, it will create a new line, and in the insert mode, you are adding some line over there. And as soon as you save it, it will also run this file. So there are two ways to run the file, edit it and then save it, or you can run by /i command. So let me save it. You can see that it has run that file. 3 tables have been created. I will drop one by one tables because I want to show you that how to run /i command. So let me see. Because if I run /i command on this file now, it will give me error that these tables are already there. And if I do E, it will not let me do because this file is there. So what I will do now that I will drop the tables one by one, and then I will run the command.
So .csv file can be .sql,
in Linux, .csv, .html, .txt, everything is same. It's just for you to remember it here.
You should call it .sql.
.sql, yeah, you can say .sql file. Okay, so yes, so I dropped that table and then I did /i, maybe one file .sql basically, right? Because CSV is more for comma separated values file. So if I do it, it will also run that file. Quit means don't run it, and then I did /i. So this is I wanted to show /i and file. It will run the file. This is the one good way. If you have multiple files on your OS, this is how you can run files one by one. Yes, please.
When you run it, in the line extract, /, pipe, p, and forward button output. Can you do that?
I don't think so, because it will not give you all of the
That is
mechanism
not.
that we do. It is as simple as it is. If we, so what you can do that in the file itself, you can write that type it or put it.
Or by greater than sign, for example.
So this is the one good way to modify the function, that is EF command. It will show you the function on your editor, and then you can modify that function. After EF, we have two more good ones, that is /G, and then that is /O. So /G, what it does that it will send the input commands, the query input buffer to PostgreSQL backend for execution. Let's see what it does. So select all from this table. So these are 10 rows, and if you do now /G and then file name, it will send this data to this file, whatever you want mentioned there. Let's see. Okay, so this data has gone to this file. Next one is /O. This is also a good one. If you don't want to do all of the data in one file, you can open by /O mylog22.php and run some queries, whatever you want. And then you can close by /O again, and then all the data has gone to mylog22.txt file. I'll show you that. I'm running 2-3 queries. One is select version, select this is unified, and then I will close by /O. So it is closed. And now if I see the file, I will see these two data in my file. So these are the, so you can see this. So these are the most common meta commands for both PSQL.
So I guess in conclusion, start with Postgres, work with it from your editor, those commands that we just showed you right now. If you are looking for a serious job in Postgres, spend a few minutes on it. Because, like I said, this is what we ask for this interview. Something.
I have a question. So you mentioned distributed table. On the back end, in terms of the way the data is laid out, say I insert a row into table A, and then I insert a row into table B, and then I insert 3 more rows into table A. Are the rows in table A not contiguous? Do they?
Yes, you can go anywhere. Like if one data page is of 8 KB, right? And if you are keep updating the data, it has some fill factor. That means some space available for update on the same page, which is appreciated because performance would be high.
Right.
If the page is broken and the one data is going somewhere else, one data is going somewhere else, which is highly likely, then the performance would be slow, because in order to read that query, it is going to multiple pages. In the same way, if you have multiple tables, database is fixed 8 KB, so it may go to the multiple pages, and then the performance would be low.
How do you essentially defrag your data? Is there a way to make it consolidate?
Cluster is the
everything in
command.
table A?
Cluster is the command to make sure that data. So that command, as far as I know, that is the clusters. CULSTR clusters.
Which database do you use?
In Postgres or
Historically, I've mostly used Oracle.
Oracle. The reorg is what you used to do, right? Or export, import, you know.
Honestly, the one I used, I didn't have to worry about it too much because it just wasn't all that much data.
I have never seen people doing it, because for smaller tables there's no problem. If the larger tables, there is a different problem, that now the data has been, and whatever you do, it will cause the downtime, because you need some time that it will be recreated or clustered at the same time. So cluster is the one command, as far as I know. Vacuum will just take the vectors out. But vacuum full, yes,
rewrite the whole thing.
right. Vacuum full will do, but at the same time, it will cause the exclusive lock.
The exclusive lock the table, but for
anything, right.
that's in Postgres language, vacuum full.
Yeah, vacuum full command is the one where it will create the new table for you and then drop the previous table. But if you are a little bit expert in PostgreSQL, I would suggest that do those things manually by yourself. That log the table, create a new table like DG, dump, and the pipe is equal. So you are getting that table on the fly and then drop the table. Because if you run the vacuum flow under the hood, what is
We need
happening?
extra space.
Just-
3% is you should have
Enough space.
free space for the table,
Yeah.
what we are doing the deep dive. Because the copy is temporary and again rewrites with the
It will drop the previous table.
So we need to have more space.
Yeah. Or assume that I am a large organization, I cannot afford this downtime. What people do is that they use the logical application of the whole cluster. And they pick those tables, like 5 or 10 tables, and then they use the logical application on those tables. Because the data is going from this environment to the very new environment. So that side, it would be in the good order.
And there is something also, if you want between people into that logs and what have you. There's also something called toasting. Toast means if you have a large record, but Postgres does under the registry of inserting the row in the table. And you have a huge like column.
So toast stands for the oversized storage technique.
So big
And
column.
under the hood, it takes it into another table. Although it is selected, it does treat the main record of one table and behind the scene, let's execute efficient storage. Behind the scene, think about those.
Postgres automatically creates a separate schema, automatically handles the column. For example, if your column is more wide, having more than 8 KB, which can't fit in a page, Postgres creates a separate schema and stores the table across multiple schemas, but for you, it's only one table. But Postgres in the back, it handles the data separately in multiple pages. So those schemas will be dropped and read automatically. You can't see it. So the name starts with P and is proposed. So those are managed automatically.
Can you sum it up?
Sorry, I just had one quick question. What you just showed, it was just an alternative, like using VI as opposed to getting into Postgres and using.
No, BI is for like entity files. Yeah. Or just drawing an analogy that if you are, you're getting to an SSH and you're going into a shell, Linux shell script into a server. At that point in time, you don't have the luxury of opening a work editor or whatever it takes to get to it. You have VI, and you have to do something like EC to be able to manage the environment. So literally, all you have is, have you ever done SSH? Where basically you have a remote server and you're connecting to it, and you have like a back window, command window, and this is all you have to do to work.
But at one point, yeah, you're kind of doing, yeah, like, looks like you're in it, right? Like, it's some kind of